now. This fearless caddis is the raddest, has skills of the baddest, magic, slinging buzzing for status, practically unmatched, runs all of the gamut, in fact, he's a reference guy. It's enchanting, bent, wizardly hatting, questing, stacking, napping, this cat diversified, witty banter, seeking kitty answers, roll 20 to scamper, tune in, and enjoy the ride. Brady, the RPG cat. Brady, the RPG cat.
Brainy the cat. Brainy the RPG cat. It's a kitty cat.
Hello, cats and kittens, felines and felidae, humans and variant humans of every race, class, and subclass. Welcome to another episode of Brady the RPG Cat. Well, actually, this is an unofficial episode. I'm trying to do something just a little bit casually, and this probably be something I'm going to be trying out over the next couple of days. I just have just a lot of back work to do when it comes to art, a lot of different kinds of art assignments given to me by, different organizations and things like that. And, it does really just kind of get to be as though I'm living in a bottle when I'm working on art projects on my own. So I thought what I would try to do is I try to do some art streams during the morning, when I'm working on these projects anyway. And then I could finish out the art and also just continue to provide some content. It's also the fact that, I do want to try out how well this stream might be populated in the morning. So just put some content here and see if people are more excited about seeing me in the morning than they are during the afternoon, and see if that works. And so, yeah, this is all very informal, and this is all very off the cuff, completely and totally improvised, unplugged. Well, as unplugged as a VTuber can be anyway. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We do still have our usual product placement, Dubby energy drink, for our Ko-fi pages, for our Streamloots page, and also for the current charity that we have. And the charity links are above. Is that follow the QR code or type exclamation point and donate in the chat in order to do that. But as once again, this is going to be a little bit more casual, so I'm not going to be spending nearly as much time plugging that as I am really just going to be working on my stuff. So this is an introduction to just one of these informal projects that I'm working on. Is that I'm in the middle of working on a comic book for a local comic book store here in the Denver metro area called All Seas Collectibles. And this one's called Heckler and Adelaide, and so it's about two characters, Heckler and Adelaide, who are both jesters, that they frequently compete for amongst each other when it comes to obtaining certain types of collectibles, but it's also the fact that they team up with each other when it comes to dealing with slightly more excitable, somewhat painful and toxic the people that are in the collectibles industry. So this is what I have for the cover page, and so this is basically these are the two main characters, and they are in a pose that was originated by Antonio Prohayas for the Spy vs. Spy comics. Usually it is that, you know, the characters are carrying a I believe it's usually a gun and a bomb, but in this one it's they're carrying an axe and a box of fire ants. So just kind of show the antagonistic nature between the first of it. And so I've just put in the inks for this first page, and eventually it's going to be up to me in order to apply some dot shading and also to put in some what do you call it? Some thought bubbles, and, you know, just do everything in order to finish out this picture. But it is basically, you know, the main character, whose name is Heckler, is just walking down Front Street, and he's really, really happy because he got a peanut that has four. He's got a very special peanut. It's a shell that has 4 peanuts in it, and it's a very rare item that he's happy about obtaining at this point. You know, of course, he gets mocked about being so happy about a peanut by Adelaide, who's just standing over on the corner. And so we're gonna go from that to the first not complete page, where Adelaide is bragging about this very rare imported panda plush toy that she managed to get her hands on. And so we're gonna go from there. Yeah, and now we're going to start working on the next section. All right, so I think this is where I had left off previously. Yeah, I was working on this panel, and I had made this panel into a copy of the other one. And so what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and delete both of those layers. All right. So let me see. When it comes to frame 1, copy 2, I'm going to need to. I'm going to need to bring this in a little bit, but without bending it. Okay. All right. So I'm doing something that's a little different from, you know, most of the people that you see make their art on in Clip Studio Paint. I am using a tablet, but I'm also only using a 2-monitor display. The second monitor is just kind of split between two different monitors, a large monitor that's directly to the right of me that I can see, and then the one that's on top of the tablet. So I'm going to be drawing on the tablet, but the display comes from the same monitor, so it's a little bit more sharp. A little bit better for streaming in that respect. Let's see. So now that I move that over, I'm going to move over my rough drawings into this section. So I can start working on inking the next panel. So as you can probably see, is that a lot of this material was already inked. I had actually, you know, gone through the drawing and the inking progress when I was doing this on my traditional drawing board. But I'm going to shift away from that, and I'm just going to start to do the whole thing digitally from this point forward. So for the next couple of pages, you know, you're going to see my traditionally drawn rough pages get retranslated into digital art, and then just from some point later, I'm just going to drop that and I'm going to start doing the rough drafts inside of the digital art as well. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's start with the tablet. And so when I ink, I do take the time in order to do some additional improvements when it comes to some of the images here. And so, if something needed to be dropped lower, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to drop it lower. Just make sure that all of these images make sense to me. So, let me tell you a little bit about my morning. Is that when I had gotten up this morning, I had seen a notification that the comic book store, the exact same one that I'm driving this comic book for, was looking for somebody in order to run their mailing department. And I immediately got dressed. I got in my car. I got there about 9 o'clock, which is 1 hour before the store opened. See if I could talk to somebody. But then, at the same time, I was messaging them over Facebook, and they had told me, well, just go ahead and send out the messages so that, send in the resume, do everything the formal way. I think I'd be really good at to that job simply because I live really close to it. I can just be there at a moment's notice. And so I still need to, go and put in my application. So since I did all of that, I'm waiting for a phone call. And so it's really just probably sometime during this stream, I'm going to receive the phone call. And so if I do, then I'll just go ahead and I'll put a BRB on the screen. I will finish the phone call, and then I will come back and I will be able to do more of the stream. The other thing about doing an unofficial art stream is that I have no idea how long I'm going to be on. Probably the best thing I can do is I can be on long enough for me to finish these next 2 pages and then just get right back onto the next phase, which I could probably do during another stream. Alright. No, I don't like that. A little too broad. Sometimes you don't know what you did when you drew something traditionally versus when you drew something, when you're drawing something digitally. And so I tend to use a lot of line straightening when it comes to, doing all of this, when it comes to working on, when it comes to working digitally, and it's really just kind of something I need because I have a very unsteady hand. I usually compensate when I'm doing traditional drawing because I have a very unsteady hand, is that I usually push down on the paper really hard, which is something that I also know that other artists tend not to do. Of course, if I push down really hard on my tablet, that's not going to make too much difference, so instead I just use a line stabilization. Alright. These lines were pretty haphazardly drawn, so, draw the hard pen in a little bit better than it was in my original drawings, but also, not pay too much attention to the lines in the neck, just make sure that they're closed. Alright. So I'm probably going to try to make, her whole frame a little bit smaller than this. So I'm going to be drawing outside the lines here. So, a little thing about Adelaide is that, she was a character that was created as a result of a contest that was done by the comic book store. And, so yeah, her whole character design was created by the contest winner. And, I had originally interpreted her design as that, she was a little bit whiter than ordinary, as that, she was slightly, a little bit more curvy than some typical some typical comic book characters are. But then I went back and I looked at the design halfway through drawing the comic, and I realized it's not really that she was wider; she is a little bit smaller. And so, I'm adjusting my images a little bit. I mean, it's really just kind of the sense that, okay, well, it's not necessarily that, it's still not that she has the body proportions of a typical comic book character, but it's still that, it needs to be a little bit shorter than it needs to be wider. And so, yeah, that's the interpretation that I've been trying to fix this whole time. All of these areas where I put down lines in the bangles of her jester hat need to be turned into blocks. I'm gonna have to go back to the original design too. I'm having a hard time remembering whether or not she had a coin or a brooch in the center of her necklace. And so this panel has a higher roof than it was when I was actually drawing the rough draft, so I do have to somewhat improvise what the top of the hat was supposed to look like. And I do think I want to hash in the top of her lips. And so for the most part, her lips are supposed to be black, because, it's just, she's just wearing black lipstick. But, adding hash texture is really just a way that, every artist kind of puts their own signature on their work. Given that I use a split between traditional and digital art, is that I have a tendency to, use the standard dot shading, but then also spend a little bit of time doing the hash work myself, so that some areas of the art are clearly my hand-drawn hash work, while the other ones are clearly the ones that are digitally added. It's a strange look, but it's one that I think people are a little bit more accepting of these days. These days we had things like, Spider-Man. We have Enter the Spider-Verse, which was a movie that popularized the more classic way that comic books were drawn in the 1960s. And so just like with Cuphead, it's just something that brought attention to a very classical art style, and that's a classical art style that everybody is really starting to enjoy and pick up on again. And something that I can appreciate about works like that is that it's introducing whole new generations to art styles that have already existed. So something like this happened in my generation is Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out. And this is the way that the story goes anyway, is that they say that Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out, and then people just became really interested in traditional 1940s animation for a very long period of time. And admittedly, I was too. I became a fan of, just really old cartoons from the 1940s and the 1950s, drawn by people like Chuck Jones and Tex Avery, And, a lot of this I also got into through, through Cartoon Network, because Cartoon Network, in its earlier days, it had a lot of similarities to Turner Classic Movies, in that, it was just kind of like a curator for classic cartoons, and it taught about history and things like that. And so, it's also a lot of talk about, the Ralph Bakshi produced version of Mighty Mouse. Because that was on, effectively people who were great traditional animators in their day were also were introduced to the public. People like John Kricfalusi and Bruce Timm and Eddie Fitzgerald and Tom Minton. All of them worked on The New Adventures of Mighty Mouse. I mean, they did their better work when they moved on to when they moved on to Nickelodeon and Warner Brothers Animation, but that's just where people were recognized the origin point. Okay, slightly different shape to his mask in this one, and so I'm drawing things in a way so that they're a little bit reflexive frame to frame, but I don't want to turn this into, like modern SpongeBob where everything is really just exaggerated one frame after another, but I do want that sense of exaggeration between frames, so something that I'm working on, when it comes to all this. So this might be a good place for some hash work too, right? So just... right about like that. Alright. Sometimes I look at a line in my drawings and I say, well, what was that line for? What was that line for? That line was clearly the third section of his gesture hat. Just going slightly off the screen there. And so, for many, many years, I used to frustrate myself with the fact that, every time I drew something, I drew two things right next to each other and they would not look alike. And I used to upset myself a lot when I was a kid because I thought, well, everybody who was drawing in, some of my favorite areas, like in animation, they always drew things perfectly one-to-one with each other. And I used to give myself a really hard time about that, but, I later found out that, people are effectively in the same boat as I am, is that, one of their, every one of their drawings could potentially look, like another one. Well, would look different from another one. And because it would look different from another one. And so, I drew part of Heckler's shoulder in this frame, but I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think I'm just going to have his neck sticking out. And so that's a little bit better. little boo-boo there. Alright. Okay, and there is a pattern on her blouse that I need to make sure that I add, because I did not add it into the because I didn't add it into the previous frames. Alright. See, where I put the lines, it's got to be vastly different from where I draw them somewhere else, and it's really just because of a lot of reasons, because of the funny angle as well. Alright. Okay, so we're going to go from there, we're going to go to the next frame. I'm going to start inking this one. So once again, you know, this was a lot more up close when I made the rough draft, so first thing that I need to do is I need to just go ahead and bring Heckler and Adelaide a bit lower into the frame, and that leaves a lot of room on the top for me to add speech bubbles later. Alright. It also means that the top half of this image was cut off, so I'm going to start improvising what the top of the hats look like again. Oops. Drawing on the same frame. I do that sometimes. It's not even noticeable because, you know, this frame is at 50% transparency. So it's basically I'm putting the digital gray line on top of the actual gray line. So, her pupil needs to be a thin line here, just to show that, you know, she's facing to the side. Alright. Try to make her lips a little bit more angular like they were in the last frame. Alright, so, well, I just got the notification back from the person who is going to be interviewing for the job. So, I'm going to be doing that interview at 12 noon, so more than likely I'm just going to cut this short, maybe by 11:30. So let's say that at least I got this section started. Move on to the next page, hopefully get some inking finished on that one too. There's a fifth frame on this page, but I'm actually going to graphic design that. I'm not actually going to be providing art for that. So I'm just going to have to do that later. It's going to be a lot more involved process than just inking.
We find ourselves starting from scratch.
And so, one advantage to using line stabilization is that, you know, this gets to be the curve that I wanted it to be instead of the rather just kind of bouncy erratic line it was when I drew the rough draft. Alright. Well, suffice to say, if I manage to get this job, you know, I'm going to be spending my mornings working for the comic book store, and I'm probably not going to be able to do this again, but I'll be getting off of work roughly about 2 p.m. every single day. And then when I do, it's probably going to be a time for me to work on something, and maybe I can, you know, turn this into something like a pre-show for the channel. Draw for 2 hours, and then until we get into prime time, then we can start doing the official show where I'm playing a video game. You know, planning, trying to do everything we can for everything that I want. So, I want to rethink the way that I structured the goggles, because I think this would not be as far off to the side if her face was facing sideways. Okay. So, it's much more likely that, she has one goggle that's visible here, and then the rest of it is the strap. And so maybe I might be able to fit one in that's just a little bunched over a little further down. So I need to work on that. And even though I drew it like that on the cover page, I can leave it like that because it's the cover page. It's a lot more dynamic. That's a little too off and lumpy.
Don't give up.
That's maybe just in a way where it's barely showing. Okay, and so if that's there, then the ridge for the top half of the gesture hat is over here, and then I'll just move that this way. So, pretty significantly changing the makeup of the direction that she is facing. Alright. Put her little plume of hair there. Draw a section that indicates the sideways bump where where that starts the beginning of the mask, and then I can continue to draw this. Not so far raised up. I feel like, this should be significantly wider. Alright. Okay. That's going to require a lot of erasing afterwards. Okay, so I want to draw this away where, both of the tendrils of their gesture hats are touching, but I'm going to need to make a lot of significant changes here. A lot of changes to the way Heckler was drawn in this frame. I can admit at this point that really just wasn't very good. Alright. And so I'm probably going to draw over what I had drawn before, because I'm probably going to throw out a lot of what I did when I was drawing Heckler. So, this is all very straight line. Maybe that's something that I want to change. Probably shift things slightly downward at an angle. And then, so if that is going to be down at that angle, then it's also really, really wide. I can definitely make a change when it comes to that. I think I was trying to give him a cocky expression. I can give him a slightly meaner looking expression. Maybe you can show a bit more of his teeth because this is more up close. I'm showing a lot of gum too. I don't think I want to show as much gum. Maybe I just want to show this one little hill of his gums. So I always have this. This is a little trademark of mine, is that I always show one sharp canine every time somebody has clenched teeth, and that is something that I actually got from the Nirvana-produced animated series based on Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. You know, that was the trademark look that they gave to Ace Ventura. I think it's really just kind of based on, you know, a caricature of Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, you know, has a great big grin and always has very pronounced canines and very pronounced gums. And that's something, you know, I just kind of tend to do. Anytime a character clenches his teeth, I just tend to draw that one pronounced canine. And of course, it fits for a character like Heckler, because, you know, he definitely has a lot of that early Jim Carrey kind of energy. Alright. And so I might want to do something where I put a chink lump here, and then I want to curve this inward. In the end, it's going to look overdone, but it's probably going to look overdone in a way that is a lot better. And so this is probably the thing that I get criticized the most for, you know, when it comes to art standardization and art technique, is that, you know, every time I draw the hood of Heckler's mask area, it looks different than it does from the previous panel. And so one of the reasons I can get away with, you know, drawing the moon-shaped bangles on Heckler's hat, a different shape every time, is that, you know, I can just use the excuse of saying, well, you're seeing it from a different angle. It's just facing a little bit more to the camera this time than it was in the previous frame. Something like that. And so I definitely can take these fringes and I can draw them a lot taller, because I'm not as limited in space as I was when I was making the rough draft. Alright. Let me erase some of that. Let's make that section look too thick. Here I'm just trying to close the area so that the area can have a paint bucket effect placed on it, but then I'm overdoing it. So it's making the corners of the lines too thick. Okay, that looks good for that frame. Once I disappear the rough draft, it's a lot less busy, and I think that's what's significant about it. I do need to put, just an indication of where the third tendril is. And so then this section is going to be its own graphic design. So I'm not going to work on that one now, but I'm going to give this a save. And then I'm going to move on to page number 3. Technically page number 5, because I have a cover page and then I have an inside cover that I still need to apply art to. Alright. So once again, you know, this is an image of inked artwork that I scanned. And you can see it still has like the blue paper rulings and things like that. But I'm still going to, you know, drop this to 50, and I'm going to draw 3 panels inside of Clip Studio Pro so that I can complete this. Okay, so probably that's the first thing I need to do. I need to start drawing frames in Clip Studio Pro. So I need just 3 long ones on this page. And so I want to get, yeah, roughly about there. And then copy it twice. Make sure that, you know, once I reach the bottom that, you know, I do have three frames. And they all, yeah, fit well on the page. Probably I'm gonna have to raise it a little bit, but I think this is basically gonna work. Alright. You have to watch out for that outside bleed. The printer will get really mad if you go too far outside of that. Alright. Put this within the parameters of frame 1. This is one feature of Clip Studio Pro that I really like, is that, you know, you have the ability to take a frame and then, you know, put it within a frame. So anytime that you're drawing, you know, all the frame parameters stay within one frame that you've just drawn. Alright. So, effectively at this point in the story, Heckler and Adelaide are getting into what I've been calling a trade-off, is that they get into a contest where whoever trades up to the most valuable item by sundown is the winner. So, Heckler ends up giving away his very exotic peanut to one of the shop owners at the store. This is a caricature of him. And, well, his name is Chris Packham. Everybody calls him the Beard because, you know, he does have just this great big bushy beard. And he also regularly does commentary on newly released comic books for the Facebook page. And so here, you know, Heckler is trying to trade him the peanut for something. And yeah, so we'll just start inking this panel. So I don't know, I put a reverse-shaped N on his hat, but maybe I can just change that to something else. Maybe I can change that. I can put on the LC's logo. And if I do, then maybe that's going to be using graphic design, and then I just don't have to worry about inking it here. Alright. Kind of drew a few lumps for the nose. Maybe I can make this look a little bit more mushy. Alright. He had some cleft lips here. Alright. Definitely I can add thinner, pointier lines to the beard caricature here. And so instead of doing, you know, the double interior beard, I'm probably just going to put a very long beard tuft right there. Because I'm going through this extensive explanation about how I'm drawing a beard, because that's mostly what is occurring in this image. Beard is happening in this image. Extend that a little bit more inward, because that's the way it's looking like on the right, and not just a recess area under the nose a little bit. Alright. I bring that to a point. There we go, that looks better. Drawing the beard of legend. So I was trying to draw out a ball cap here. I think it ended up looking slightly more like a hard hat or something like that. I think in a later panel, Heckler trades the beard for his hat, so it's important that, you know, that's drawn in a significantly in a correct way, so that people will be able to recognize it in another frame. You can just carry this, the rest of the way here. Just provide the hash marks there. Alright. And now we're drawing the rotulated peanut again. Yes, it does look like a poop, but that's also just kind of part of the humor. a slight change in the exaggeration of Heckler's hand here. And so yeah, another reason that I continue to ink and re-ink is because I just want to continue to make improvements to my art every single time I redraw it. If you really want something to look good, just redraw it multiple times. Okay. Probably the eye needs to be a lot thinner than it was when I drew it. Make sure the nose starts out a little bit sooner. So I've been, fighting the urge to hash all of Heckler's eyebrows, as then it means that I'm going to have to go back to all of the previous art that I did, and I'm going to have to hash it again. But at this point, I think it might be necessary. So his lip almost has a Chuck Jones's curl to it. And so as I was already mentioning, here I am once again drawing his clenched teeth. And because of that, I'm also drawing his pronounced canine. It might be funny if I clef his lip right about here. Creating some really, really weird side view close-ups throughout the entirety of this comic book. So the lawnmowers are outside my door right now, and yeah, they're making an awful racket. This is one of the reasons that I don't usually stream in the morning. Hello, Mary Mermaid. Thank you very much for tuning in. So Mary Mermaid, of course, is a good friend of the channel. She participates regularly in our actual play tabletop stream, One Shots from the Yawning Portal. The noise is so loud outside is that it's hard for me to concentrate on what I'm trying to say. Also wouldn't hurt if I actually spelled my shoutouts correctly. I gotta pick on him, he's got a job to do. So, I woke up this morning, and, I decided, I was gonna try to do this segment. I only just got word that there might be a job available for me, and I'm going to be going in for the job interview at 12 o'clock. So, call this all a bunch of slapdash planning at this point. So if I get this job, I'm not going to have mornings available anymore, but, I probably still might do something like this around, like 2 or 3 o'clock, maybe about 2 or 3 hours before I actually do the prime time stream. Bangles got a little too big in this art. And so this was a really, really strange angle that I drew everything in. I might consider redrawing it. It's really that Heckler's back is facing the group, is facing the audience, and so his back should actually be a little bit more arched like that. And then, you know, these are the fringes of his jester collar, and so it kind of goes in this direction. But then his right arm juts all the way out there, and it's the one that's holding the peanut towards Beard. So I want to see, yeah, that still kind of makes sense. I mean, it's an awfully twisted way of doing that angle, but it's still, I think it still kind of works. I actually should take this and I should move this over slightly to the right. Alright. This jester is looking like the Crimson Chin. He looks like he, let me see if I can do this really quick. Let me pull out what the jester looks like in the image. Let's see, okay, so this is the All Seas Collectibles logo. And so I've just kind of been asked in order to write the full comic book based on this character that's in this logo, and this is what he originally looked like. Oops. That's going over to the Facebook page. So, a long time ago, and I think you've probably seen the videos, I used to actually make animated cartoons in Adobe Character Animator using this character. And I very closely modeled those after the way that he looks like in the caricature, but since then, you know, they've just given me the character in order to be a little bit more freeform, so I'm trying to redesign the character so that he fits a little bit more within my style of drawing. So let's see. I was just commenting, he has he looks pretty significantly, you know, has a lot of kind of a Jim Carrey pose-to-pose attitude towards him. And that's also the reason he kind of tends to have the big cleft chin. It's also kind of the reason that I continue to draw his clenched mouth with a pronounced canine right here. Because that is just, you know, the fact that, you know, you have that big toothy grin, and it's always, you know, you see the fangs first when you have a big toothy grin like that. That was something that I, you know, rather uncharitably ripped off from the Nelvana cartoon version of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. Because if you think about, you know, what makes for a character like Jim Carrey, it's definitely the fact that he always has that great big toothy grin on him. Alright. And definitely make this one a lot more livelier. Alright. Okay, so disappear the rough draft at this point. Just make sure I have all the lines that I wanted to. Alright. So now that, I've been able to clean up the line significantly, it's a lot more clear what Heckler is doing in the panel. So, just draw one more little lump right there for the underside of his eye. So I can close that gap right there, and then also just close the distance between his arm and his eye in this section. Alright, on to panel 2. So in this panel we have Adelaide. It was actually speaking to a caricature of myself. Wants to trade her brand new a Japanese stuffed panda for my Game Boy. And first thing is that I really, really hated how I drew her face in this picture, so I definitely need to come up with something completely different. So, first take a moment to work on my favorite subject. I have a tendency to always go right to left when I'm drawing anything, and I mean literally anything. I actually did want myself to be a bit smaller in this image, so I'm probably going to want to resize this. Yeah, let's go to scale. And then I'll have to remind myself in order to make it bigger when I'm putting Adeline in the frame. Alright. Right about there. Alright. Oh. On the wrong layer again. So anybody who knows me knows this is my caricature of me, and this is also how I draw my character, Jed Enark on my webcomic, Not Like the Norms. That's going to be making a comeback sometime soon, too, and I'm probably also going to be doing streams where I'm drawing episodes of the comic strip. Alright. I think part of the punchline for this page is that Heckler's going to end up saying, well, does everybody around here have a beard? As I turned that from a cynical expression to a somewhat completely ape-like expression. Oops, okay, that's a little bit too wide. It's hard to turn corners when you're stabilizing lines. Okay, that's not good. right. Drawing hair. Always a favorite preoccupation of mine. To be fair, I think it always comes better with a digital line than it does when I'm just using a pen. And yeah, this was definitely a goof that I made on myself, because if anybody knows me, they know nothing's more fun than my Game Boy. Walk into the store carrying my Game Boy, in between rounds of tabletop, playing on my Game Boy. More than happy to trade it to a random roving jester for their, in exchange for their Japanese plush toy. All right. So yeah, I definitely need to do a lot of restructuring here. So yeah, I don't even think the face shape is very good. So I'll try to see if I can just kind of draw the outline details, and then the way that I should redraw the face should come to me. See a much wider grid here. Put on the black lipstick. So you probably want to draw that line on the inside. To say to myself, anything's got to be better than what I originally drew. Okay, well, it's a bit of an improvement. At least I'm in a place where I think I can make some adjustments. All right. Maybe it's the teardrop shaped eyebrows that look funny in that picture. All right. All right. Well, I think I broke my own rule. I did think I drew Adelaide smaller, but I think I can just fix that by highlighting her and then growing her up a little bit. All right. Give this a save. Go on to the next section. And so this is gonna have a background item on it. Is I think I want to take the time in order to more detail the poster in the background that Heckler is trading this hat for. Yeah, where am I been? About 17 minutes in. All right. So I'm probably gonna be here until the bottom of the hour. Then I'm just going to have to clean up. I'm going to have to print out my resume and then go and see this person about this mailroom job. But let's say that in this panel, Heckler just has a differently shaped nose. I drew his eyeballs extra wide, but I think it works. I think it means he looks a little more eerie in this picture. All right. Yep. Kind of put an extra dot there. I mean, one thing about drawing Heckler's chin is that I always try to see if I can cube it off in the front. I can actually make the front half of it look as though it is just this perfect cube. It's got slightly more of a Grandpa Lou vibe to it. Okay, so now that I put that there... Oh, also I'm probably going to want to draw his hand in this frame as well. Um... All right. The one thing when I originally drew this, I kept asking myself, what does a hat taken off look like? Just holding it in your hand afterwards. I came up with a very lumpy answer. Okay, what did I end up doing here? I mean, there's still plenty of room for me to put in the gore picture, but... Let's see, what can... Might actually need to put in something where, like, I can draw in... Or I could draw in the rest of Heckler's shoulders. That'd probably be the best way that I had for me to do that. All right. Well, it's 11:30. So, like I said, I'm going to have to just go ahead and freshen up and, head over to this job interview I'm going to be having at noon. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. This was a highly experimental episode. More than likely, I'm just going to be on to do some more casual art streams in the future. Until then, thank you everybody for tuning in to today's episode. I'm going to be back here on Wednesday, and we are going to be playing. Well, we're going to be playing Pokemon Scarlet. We're gonna try to see if we can finish up the storyline of that game. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you once again for tuning in. Have a good night. Have a good day, everybody. I'm not streaming in prime time. Have a good day, everybody. Remember, BRANY means smart. Nothing's too hard if you use your head. Be the change that you want to see in the world. So long, everybody. Thank you very much for watching.